Introduction to Bradford, Winthrop, and the Puritans, Part 3, Building a Religious Community, Survival and Success. One of the themes that emerges from Bradford and Winthrop is the need to forge a community, of working together to survive as well as successfully establish their godly community. Bradford notes the difficulties they faced when they arrived in the New World. Not only did they arrive in wintertime in an unknown wilderness with few provisions, they also faced severe sickness, during which half of the travelers died. Other difficulties came from the fact that only one-third of the people on board the Mayflower were part of Bradford's separatist group seeking religious freedom. The rest were there for commercial purposes, and the venture was backed by a company of investors who expected a return on their investment. And this mercantile aspect of the venture undercuts the idealism of seeking freedom from religious persecution. The Pilgrims refer to themselves as saints, and to the people not of their group as strangers, and there were two strangers for every saint on the voyage. Further, as their charter was for the Virginia territory and they landed in New England, there was a question of whether the charter was binding. The Mayflower Compact, which you can read on page 82, becomes important because the different groups agree to establish a unified community. They covenant and combine themselves into a civil body politic. They understood that they all had to work together if they were to survive, build houses together, hunt together, farm together. The Mayflower Compact also establishes a sense of independent rule. They also recognized the right to make acts and laws for the betterment of the colony. Also important to their survival was the treaty that they forged with Massasoit and the local Native American tribes, which, of course, lies behind our story of Thanksgiving. Bradford particularly notes the help and guidance of Squanto, an English-speaking native of the area they settled in, who taught them how to fish and plant. Bradford calls him a special instrument sent of God. John Winthrop was one of the leaders of the group of Puritans that formed the Massachusetts Bay Colony in Boston. Like Bradford, he served as governor of this colony for many years and was integral in the affairs of the colony. Unlike Bradford and the Pilgrims, Winthrop's group were not separatists. While they wanted to purify the Church of England of its Roman Catholic attributes, they believed in doing so from within the church itself. While Winthrop and the other Puritans like him did not face the immediate persecution that Bradford's group did, as situations in England began to turn against the Puritans and voicing opinions became more troublesome, they felt it may be in their best interest to put some distance between themselves and the British government. Still, the Massachusetts Bay Colony was more of a commercial venture than a religious one. Winthrop, who was a lawyer, not a clergyman, delivered the sermon or speech, a model of Christian charity, aboard the Arabella either just before or just after departing for America. This sermon clearly sets out the ideals of a harmonious Christian community that would stand as an example to the world of the triumph or failure of their Christian enterprise. What a speech entails is the need to work together to build this ideal Christian community, to put the needs of the community over personal desires or gains. Winthrop's idea of a city upon a hill, a model community that others may then follow or replicate if successful, is one that resonates into modern times, although in more secular terms. Presidents such as Kennedy, Reagan, and Obama have all referred to America as a city upon a hill. Both Plymouth and the Massachusetts Bay Colony essentially established theocracies, or religious-based governments. Ironically, one of the questions such theocracies face is how to handle those who do not subscribe to society's beliefs. Opposition to the church state can be seen as a threat to the social order, and this is a matter of heresy, as an individual professing different beliefs is contradicting the orthodoxy of society. Underlying this question, though, is the desire to hold the community together. For Bradford, this is the case of Thomas Morton and his group at Marymount, who were living a rather hedonistic lifestyle, although more the issue was their trading guns to the Native Americans to fund their merriment. Winthrop provided over other controversies that showed the power of a theocracy to punish errors of belief. One was the case of Roger Williams, who was banished and settled in Rhode Island. Another is the case of Anne Hutchinson and the antinomian controversy. She, like Williams, was hounded and banished for her beliefs that were contrary to Orthodox Puritan beliefs. Puritans believed in outward signs of grace, that one's appearance and actions provided visible evidence of sanctification. Hutchinson preached antinomianism, a belief that grace is something experienced by the individual, that it was an inner light or conviction that came directly from God. Grace was internal, something felt and understood by the individual. So rather than external signs that all could see, only the individual would know if they were saved or elected. This belief was heretical outside of Orthodox thought, and thus a threat to the theocracy. What made this worse, of course, was that Hutchinson, who held meetings twice a week in her home, was a woman, and she was criticized by the male ministers, except for John Cotton, who was her mentor, as a deviant, a radical, an American Jezebel, and a whore, terms that related more to her gender than her theological beliefs. One other thing that Bradford laments is prosperity. As the colony grows and prospers, it becomes harder to hold the community together. Instead, he sees the community start to splinter and divide, which was necessary as people settled farther away from the central government and church. But as more people came over, they didn't hold the same zealous beliefs, and they didn't share that early common purpose for survival that bound the first settlers together. The question here is what becomes of the city upon a hill?